How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today's video is devoted to the Stage 1 finals match between the Vancouver Titans and the San Francisco Shock. And let me start off by saying, oh my goodness, what a crazy game. Easily one of the best games of Pro Overwatch I've seen in recent memory. Some people are even saying that this was the greatest game ever, and I can't blame the people that feel that way at all. I don't know if I'd say it's my favorite, but it's definitely up there as one of the better matchups I've ever seen. Congrats to the Vancouver Titans. I'm really impressed with how they performed this stage. I thought they'd be good, but I did think it would take them a little bit, maybe like a stage or two, to finally make it into a stage playoff and win it. But it would seem that I'm very wrong about this, and I couldn't be happier. I'm glad to see an expansion team be this good and have so much relevance already. This amazing story of Runaway has continued into the Overwatch League. I know there's a handful of people out there that don't really like GOATs and find the games to be kind of boring being played in this meta, but I guarantee you that you're going to enjoy this game even if you are one of those people. Not only were there some really hype moments that happened, but both teams played some of the cleanest GOATs you'll ever see in your life. Every single player on both teams came to play too. Everyone made at least a few highlight-worthy plays throughout the set. It's also worth mentioning that this series went the distance in a back-and-forth ping-pong-like affair that came down to one of the last fights on the 7th and final map. What I loved about this series is that one team just couldn't seem to build a good lead over the other. The Shock won Nepal 2-1, but then the Titans full held the Shock on Numbani to tie up the series at 1 going into the half. Then we got a super intense game on Temple of Anubis, where both teams completed the map once, and the Shock found themselves needing to capture Point A, and a bit more than half of Point B if they wanted to take the map. And on their final fight on Point B, they were able to break through, mostly because of a massive 3k D.Va bomb made by Choyobin, which was of course set up by Sinatra's Grav and Super Shatter, allowing them to take the map and a 2-1 lead going into map 4. But Vancouver was having none of this losing nonsense. Their choking days when they were Runaway are now far behind them, and they proved that by crushing the Shock on Dorado to tie the series back up at 2 wins apiece. Then we move on to Ilios, where we saw more of the same that we saw in Nepal. We got to see another super close and action-packed map that the Shock ended up taking 2-1. Shout out to the Titans, by the way. They ran the Orisa McCree comp on well, and honestly, who doesn't enjoy seeing some DPS be involved every once in a while? That helps spice things up a lot. And it almost worked too. They were just one fight away from beating Winston Goats on the side of the Shock. They got up to 97% before losing the point and finally switching to a mirror comp, and only needed to win one fight to take the map and a 3-2 lead. But as we all know, that didn't happen. The Shock were able to clutch up and make a sick comeback. The Shock were now on match point, and the Titans found themselves needing to win 2 maps in a row if they hoped to win the Stage 1 title. But as we all know, the Titans are no strangers to facing adversity, so this was basically just another typical day in the office for them as they marched into Kings Row and took it 3-2. Major props goes out to Slime in this one. When the Titans needed to win just one fight to make more payload progress than the Shock, Slime stepped up and made a map-clinching boop on Violet, who had just started using his Transcendence. If Violet had lived through that, then who knows what could have happened. Maybe the Shock could have stalled the fight out and eventually have won it, since the Titans were down their biggest source of damage in Solomon Su, who had just died at the hands of Sinatra's Grav. Good work by Slime for making such a big play for his team. Now we find both teams tied at 3-3 going into map 7, with the winner of this map taking home the Stage 1 title. Since the Shock lost Kings Row, it was their turn to pick the map, so you'd think they'd have the advantage going into Rialto. And the Shock didn't look bad at all during their attack. They managed to finish the map, which is not an easy thing to do on Rialto. But then the Shock crumbled on their defense. Vancouver rolled through them, which resulted in them finishing the map with a ridiculous time bank of over 4 minutes. Now the Shock had quite the challenge to overcome if they wanted to win. They only had 1 minute to get the payload as far as they could, and needless to say, that didn't go as well as they would have liked it to. Not even finishing Point A, with the Titans having over 4 minutes to make more payload progress than them, made things look pretty grim for the Shock. They fought hard on their defense, but it just wasn't enough. Titans take the series 4-3. I felt so bad for the Shock. Sinatra and Super looked devastated after coming so close to upsetting the best team in the league. I just hope they don't let this loss get to them. I hope they can see this match as a learning experience and can move forward with their heads held high. If you're a Shock fan, then don't feel discouraged about this loss. Your team played way better than most people expected them to this stage. Not only did you find a way to qualify for the playoffs with one of the hardest schedules in the league, but you also rolled the Defiant and the Fusion. And you were like 2 fights away from winning the championship. You should all feel very proud of your team, and you should be very much looking forward to what the future holds. Don't give up hope. There's still 2 more stage playoffs and the postseason that you guys could win. If I were to pick an MVP for this series, I'd have to give it to Twilight. The man played out of his mind the whole day. Not only did he always seem to have trans up when his team needed it, but he also consistently outplayed his counterpart in Violet. He clearly got the best of him in this matchup, and that's evident by the fact that Violet died at the hands of Twilight far more than the amount of times he picked off Twilight himself. If I could give MVP to a player on the losing team, then I'd have to give co-MVP to Super, Choyobin, and Sinatraa. They had the task of taking on arguably the strongest tank line in the league, and they excelled. Sinatraa consistently outdamaged Selma and Sue, Choyobin had more clutch diva bombs than I can count, and then there's Super. If you want to talk about someone who came to play, then this is your guy. Super was definitely a big underdog in this matchup. People had questioned Super's ability to be a good Rein, and he proved all of his haters wrong by making Bumper, who's arguably the best Rein in the league, just look silly at times. Bumper is one of the kings of landing big Earth Shatters, but Super was the one who looked like he was royalty in this one. He seemed to just keep finding ways around Bumper's shield, which led to him getting an absurd amount of shatter stuns. He also did a really good job of pinning Bumper outside of Sinatra's grab, allowing his teammates to focus down Bumper first in fights, but he also did a very superb job of comboing with both Choyobin and Sinatraa at the same time. A big reason why some of these massive diva bombs even happened in the first place were because of him landing a shatter on enemies trapped in Sinatra's grab. Super was easily the most impressive player of the day for me. That was without a doubt the best game he's ever played in his career on stage. I have to give credit to the Titans though. The Shock's game plan was to focus Bumper, and they adjusted to that perfectly. Even when they went down 3-2, they still didn't falter. They kept their composure and proved why they're the best team in the league right now. Before I close out the video, I quickly just wanted to thank the San Francisco Shock and the Vancouver Titans for putting on such an incredible show. That was easily the best game I've ever seen being played in the GOATS meta. And with that being said, that's everything I got for you guys today. If you enjoyed this content, then be sure to hit that like button and subscribe. And also feel free to let me know what you thought of the Stage 1 Finals down in the comments section. And until next time, this is ATP, signing out. Peace.